You ever get to the end of the month and just kind of stare at your bank account? Not because something dramatic happened, not because you lost your job or had some huge emergency, but just because the number is lower than it should be? Like, you know you made money this month. You know you didn't buy anything crazy. But somehow, some way, there's just less there than you expected. And you sit there thinking, where did it go? Yeah, that feeling. That's exactly what we're talking about today. Because here's the thing, most people who stay broke or who feel stuck financially aren't doing anything obviously wrong. They're not gambling their savings away. They're not making massive financial mistakes. They're just doing a bunch of small, totally normal, are completely invisible things that quietly drain their money month after month after month. And the sneaky part, a lot of these habits feel fine. Some of them even feel responsible. That's what makes them so hard to catch. So today we're going to name them 9 everyday habits that quietly keep you broke. And I mean quietly, like background noise quietly. The kind of thing you don't notice until you actually stop and look. My name is Nikki, and welcome to Nikki Invests. On this channel, we talk about financial psychology, wealth building habits, and the smarter money behaviors that most people never get taught. If that sounds like your kind of thing, consider subscribing. We put out new videos regularly, and I think you'll find them useful. But okay, let's get into it because this one is really important. So before we start listing habits, I want to give you a simple mental model to hold on to as we go through this. Think of your financial life like a bathtub. You've got water coming in, and that's your income. And you've got the drain, that's your expenses. Now, most people, when they feel broke, assume the problem is the faucet, not enough water coming in. And sometimes that's true. But more often than not, the real issue is that the drain is open wider than they realize. And worse, there are tiny little cracks in the tub itself, slow leaks that nobody notices because they're small. Individually, each crack loses almost nothing. But together, over time, you wonder why the tub is never full. That's exactly what these 9 habits are. They're the cracks. And today we're patching them. All right, habit number 1, spending without tracking. This one sounds basic, I know. You've heard it before. But stick with me because I want to explain why it actually matters, not just tell you to make a budget. Here's what happens when you don't track your spending. Your brain fills in the gaps with estimates. And human beings, we are genuinely terrible at estimating our own spending. Studies consistently show that people underestimate their discretionary spending by anywhere from 30 to 50%. That's not a small margin. That's like thinking you spent $200 on food and it actually being $300. Let's look at 2 people. We've got Alex and Taylor. Same income, both making around $55,000 a year. Alex feels like they have a pretty good handle on where their money goes. They don't track formally, but they're aware. One, they know roughly what their rent is, they know their subscriptions, they have a loose mental number for groceries. Taylor uses a simple app. Nothing fancy, just something that categorizes transactions automatically. Takes them maybe 10 minutes a month to review it. At the end of the year, Alex is surprised to find they barely saved anything. Taylor, same income, managed to put away about $3,000. The difference wasn't income. It wasn't even major spending decisions. It was visibility. Taylor could see the cracks. Alex was guessing. Tracking isn't about restriction. It's about information. You can't fix what you can't see. Habit number 2, lifestyle creep that happens one upgrade at a time. So you get a raise, or you pay off a debt, or you just feel like things are going a little better financially. And naturally, you adjust your life a little bit. Maybe you upgrade your phone, start ordering delivery more often, move to a slightly nicer apartment, get a gym membership, buy better wine. None of these are bad decisions on their own. But here's the thing. They tend to all happen around the same time, and they tend to become permanent. That's lifestyle creep. And it's particularly sneaky because each individual upgrade feels earned and justified. Because it usually is. You did work hard. You do deserve nice things. The problem isn't the upgrade, it's when every income increase gets immediately absorbed by new expenses, so your savings rate never actually improves. Think about it like this: Alex gets a $5,000 raise. Within a few months, their monthly expenses have gone up by about $400. New apartment, a nicer car payment, a couple new subscriptions. So net, they're saving maybe an extra $50 a month from that raise. Taylor gets the same raise. They let themselves enjoy one upgrade, a nicer apartment, but they consciously route the rest into savings and investments before they get used to spending it. Taylor's savings rate actually improves. Same raise, wildly different outcomes. Not because of discipline or deprivation, just awareness. Habit number 3, paying only the minimum on debt. This is one where the math is just genuinely painful, and I think if more people saw the actual numbers, they'd make different decisions. When you carry a balance on a high interest credit card and you only pay the minimum each month, the bank is very, very happy because you're essentially renting that money at 18, 20, or sometimes 25% annually. Let's say you've got a $3,000 balance on a card with 20% interest. If you pay only the minimum each month, which might be around $60, it will take you somewhere around 6 to 7 years to pay that off. And by the end, you'll have paid close to $6,000 for that original $3,000 purchase. You doubled the cost of everything you bought. Whatever was on that card cost you twice as much as you thought it did. The minimum payment keeps you in the game without getting you out of the hole. It's designed to keep the balance alive, not eliminate it. Habit number 4, not having a real saving system. And this one is interesting because most people think they're saving when they're actually just not spending. Those are two very different things. Not spending means money sits in your checking account until something comes along to take it. Saving means money moves to a specific place with a specific purpose before you have a chance to spend it. One is passive, one is a system. And the difference in outcomes over time is enormous. The classic version of this habit is the "I'll save whatever's left at the end of the month" approach. The problem? There is usually nothing left at the end of the month. Not because you're irresponsible, but because money that's available tends to get spent. That's just human nature. We spend to the edge of what we have. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. Automate a transfer to savings on the day you get paid. Even if it's small, even if it's $50. The amount matters less at first than the habit. You're training your lifestyle to exist on what's left after saving instead of saving what's left after lifestyle. Taylor does this. The moment their paycheck hits, $200 moves automatically to a high-yield savings account. They never see it. They never miss it. Alex intends to save, but always figures they'll do it at the end of the month. They rarely do. Habit number 5, treating subscriptions as non-negotiable fixed expenses. Okay, so here's a question. How many subscriptions do you currently pay for? Think about it. Streaming services, music, cloud storage, apps, gym, news, software, food delivery memberships, all of it. Now here's the follow-up question. When was the last time you actually reviewed whether you're still using all of them? Subscriptions are a masterpiece of behavioral economics. They're small enough individually that canceling any one of them feels almost pointless. It's only $12 a month, why bother? But $12 a month is $144 a year. Add 10 of those up, services you're barely using, and you're losing over $1,000 a year to nothing. Actual nothing, just automatic charges going out while you're not paying attention. And the companies know this. The model is built on inertia. They know that once something is set up as an automatic payment, most people will never cancel it, even if they stop using it. Because canceling requires action, and action requires intention. And most of us are operating on autopilot most of the time. Alex hasn't audited their subscriptions in 2 years. They're paying for a gym they haven't visited in 6 months, a streaming service they forgot they had, and two apps they downloaded once. Taylor does a quick subscription audit every 6 months. Takes about 20 minutes. Usually frees up at least $50 to $100 a month. Habit number 6. No thought spending on small, frequent purchases. This is the one people always want to argue with, so let me be careful about how I frame it. I'm not here to tell you that your coffee is why you're not a millionaire. That's tired advice, and it's not really true in isolation. But I am going to point out something a little more subtle. The issue with small, frequent spending isn't the cost per unit. It's the mindlessness. It's the fact that these purchases happen on autopilot without intention, often as habit or emotion rather than genuine desire. You grab the snack because you're bored. You buy the thing in the checkout line because it's there. You order delivery because deciding what to cook felt like too much effort. None of these are moral failures, they're just patterns. And patterns, when they run on autopilot, cost money whether you're aware of them or not. The micro decision that matters here isn't, should I never buy coffee? It's, did I actually want that, or did I just do it without thinking? Intentional spending is totally different from automatic spending, even if the item is the same. One is a choice, the other is a leak. Habit number 7. Avoiding investing because it feels complicated or risky. So, this is where a lot of people, especially younger people, quietly lose years of wealth building potential. They know they should probably be investing. They've heard about index funds and compound interest and all of that, but it feels overwhelming or risky or like something you need to understand fully before you start. So they wait. They'll do it when they understand it better. They'll start when they have more to invest. They'll figure it out later, and later becomes years. Here's the thing about compound interest. It is not exciting in the short term. It is extremely, dramatically exciting in the long term. The difference between starting at 25 and starting at 35 isn't 10 years of investment returns. Because of compounding, it's often 2 to 3 times the final outcome. We're talking about potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference from a 10-year delay. Alex knows they should invest. They have a vague intention to set up a retirement account, but they're not sure which one to choose, and they don't want to do it wrong, so they keep not doing it. Taylor opened a simple Roth IRA 2 years ago, put it in a low-cost index fund, and contributes a small amount each month. They don't fully understand every nuance of the market. They just started. Done imperfectly is infinitely better than perfect and not done. Habit number 8, tying your self-worth to your spending. This one is the psychology one. And I want to be real with you. This is one of the most expensive habits on this list, and it's the one nobody talks about. A huge amount of consumer spending isn't really about the product. It's about identity, status, belonging, feeling like you're doing okay, feeling like you're keeping up. And I mean, this isn't some character flaw, so it's deeply human. We are social creatures, and for most of human history, how we appeared to our community had real survival implications. That instinct didn't go away. It just got redirected toward handbags and cars and keeping up with what we see online. The problem is that spending on status is a race with no finish line. Because there's always a bigger apartment, a newer car, a fancier vacation. The baseline keeps shifting. And when your emotional well-being is tied to how your spending compares to other people, people who might also be broke, by the way, just broke with nice stuff, you will always find ways to spend more than you should. This isn't about becoming a minimalist or rejecting nice things. It's about asking, honestly, why you want what you want. I genuinely love this, and it adds real value to my life, is a perfectly good reason to buy something. I want people to think I'm doing well is an expensive reason that never actually works the way you hope. Habit number 9, not having a plan for windfalls or extra income. Tax refunds, bonuses, freelance income, gifts, inheritances. Side hustle money. Most people, when they receive unexpected or irregular money, have no plan for it. And money without a plan tends to disappear into lifestyle in a way that's really hard to trace afterward. You got a tax refund? Cool. What happened to it? A lot of people couldn't really tell you. Not because they did something outrageous, but just because it got absorbed. A few nice dinners, some clothes, a random purchase, a couple nights out. It just spread across life. Ash, this is sometimes called mental accounting, our tendency to treat different sources of money differently. Regular income feels like it should be managed carefully. Windfalls feel like found money, like it doesn't quite count the same way. But a dollar from your bonus builds wealth exactly the same as a dollar from your paycheck. The source doesn't change the value. Having a pre made decision for windfalls removes the in the moment temptation to just spend it. Something like 50% goes to savings or investments, 25% goes to any outstanding debt, and 25% is yours to enjoy guilt free. Whatever formula works for you. The point is to have one before the money arrives, not after. Okay, so now let's fast forward a little. Let's say 5 years go by, and let's look at where Alex and Taylor end up. Not as a moral tale, just as a math exercise. Alex has a higher income than they did 5 years ago, but lifestyle creep absorbed most of the raise. The subscriptions they never audited cost them about $5,000 over that period in services they barely used. The debt they were paying minimums on cost them an extra $4,000 in interest. They never set up automatic savings, so they saved inconsistently. Maybe $8,000 total over 5 years when it could have been significantly more. They haven't started investing because they're still waiting until they understand it better. Taylor, same income bracket, same general lifestyle. But they tracked their spending so they could see the leaks. They automated savings before lifestyle could absorb them. And they paid more than the minimum on debt and cleared it faster. They did a biannual subscription audit. They started investing early even though they didn't fully understand everything. They had a plan for the bonus they got 18 months ago. 5 years later, Taylor has built something, not a fortune, not financial freedom yet, but a foundation, a direction, a gap between where they started and where they are that is real and measurable. Alex has a higher salary, but roughly the same net worth, maybe even less. Same starting point, different habits, wildly different outcomes. And here's the psychological piece that I think really ties all of this together. None of these habits feel like habits. That's the whole problem. They feel like just life, normal life. Everyone pays minimum payments sometimes. Everyone has subscriptions. Everyone treats a bonus like a little treat. Everyone means to start tracking but hasn't gotten around to it. The normalcy of these behaviors is exactly what makes them dangerous. Because if everyone around you is doing the same things, there's no social pressure to change. It feels fine. It looks fine. Until you run the numbers over a decade and you realize that fine was quietly costing you a fortune. Loss aversion plays a big role here, too. A lot of these habits exist because change feels like giving something up. Canceling a subscription feels like losing something, even if you're not using it. Automating savings feels like having less, even though technically it's yours. Investing feels risky even when keeping money in a checking account, where it loses purchasing power to inflation, is actually riskier long term. But we protect the comfort of the familiar, even when the familiar is slowly working against us. One big mistake people make when they hear a list like this is thinking it's about being cheap, about cutting everything, enjoying nothing, living on rice and discipline. And I just want to be clear that that's not it. That approach doesn't work long term anyway. Deprivation isn't a strategy, it's a pressure cooker. This is really about intention versus autopilot. It's about whether your money is going where you actually want it to go or whether it's just going. There's a huge difference between spending thoughtfully on things that genuinely matter to you and spending automatically on things you don't really care about because you never stop to notice. One is living your actual values. The other is just leaking. So here's the reframe I want to leave you with. You don't need to be perfect with money. You don't need to optimize every dollar or feel guilty about every latte. What you need is visibility, intention, and a few solid systems that run in the background while you live your life. Because wealth isn't usually built by people who are dramatically frugal. It's built by people who are just a little more aware than average. People who notice the leaks before they become floods. People who make slightly better decisions slightly more often. Compounded over time, that is enough. That really is enough. So here are the practical actions. Pick 2 or 3. Don't try to do all 9 at once. Start tracking your spending, even just for 1 month, even just to see. Use an app, use a spreadsheet, use a notebook, just make it visible. On your next payday, automate a savings transfer before you do anything else, even if $50. Start the habit. Spend 20 minutes auditing your subscriptions. Cancel anything you haven't used in the last 30 days. Make a plan for your next windfall before it arrives. Decide the percentages now. Look at any credit card balances you're carrying. Calculate what you're actually paying in interest. Then make a plan to pay more than the minimum. And if you don't have any kind of investment account, a Roth IRA, a workplace 401k, anything, open one this week. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to start. None of these steps are dramatic. None of them require you to turn your life upside down, but here's what they do. Quietly, consistently, over time. They stop the leaks. They patch the cracks in the bathtub. And slowly, the water starts to rise. So here's the question I want you to sit with. Not in a heavy way, just honestly. Of the 9 habits we talked about today, how many of them are running in your life right now on autopilot without your permission? Because awareness is the first step. It always is. And you just took it.